Alright, today I got a 7th generation Honda Civic here, and I'm going to be replacing the spark plugs and the ignition coils. So come along, I'll show you how I do it. And here are the parts we'll be using. For the spark plugs, we're going with the platinum spark plugs from NGK. There's the part number for this vehicle. And then for the coils, Denso. There's the part number on those. Denso and NGK, they're the OE manufacturers for these ignition systems on these Hondas, and that's all I use. When I fix Hondas, NGK and Denso, that's all I use. Now these NGKs come pre-gapped from NGK to the correct gap, and usually they're right on the money. You don't have to worry about it. It's not recommended to adjust these laser platinum plugs. If the gap is off, then take it back and get one that's correct. The gap on these is 1 to 1.1 millimeter, or 0.039 to 0.043 inches. I have a metric feeler gauge set here. You can see, I don't know if you can read that, it says 1 millimeter on there. You can see that fits perfectly right in there. So these are gapped right. I'll make sure the other ones are correct, and then we'll get them in the vehicle. Alright, first thing we need to do is get this little plastic cover off. What we're going to do is turn these little screws right here like this and lift it off. And now there's our 4 ignition coils with the plugs. It's easier to unplug them once we get the bolts loose. So we'll just crack these 10mm fasteners loose and get them off. Alright, now we should be able to wiggle them around and unplug them, take them out. Alright, it's a good idea to check and make sure you don't have a bunch of oil down in your spark plug tubes. Usually you'll be able to tell when you pull those coils out, you'll see oil all over the bottom of them, and if that's the case, then these seals right inside the top here, the top of the valve cover, those are going to have to be replaced. These are okay. Alright, and using my fancy 3M safety glasses, we're going to blow out these spark plug tubes. Make sure if there's any debris in there, we'll blow it out. That way it doesn't fall down into the cylinder. Like that. See all that garbage came out of that one? Alright, now these spark plugs are 5/8, so I'm going to use a spark plug socket with an attached extension. Now I have a couple different sizes. You can see I could probably use that one, but it's kind of short. So I like using this one. A little bit longer, it gets me up away from the valve cover. So we'll use this one and pop these spark plugs out. Now it's a good idea to have the engine cool. I don't like pulling the spark plugs out when it's super hot. So now these things have been in here for like 100,000 miles. So they might come out a little difficult, but nah, these feel pretty good, not bad. Not bad at all. And what's nice about the spark plug socket is it's magnetic, so it sticks right to the end, which is kind of nice. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like the right spark plugs were actually in here, so that's a good sign. And you can do one at a time, or you can pull them all out if you want. Now if you're going to leave them open like I have them right now, don't be dumb and drop anything into the cylinder. That would suck. Alright, now before I install these, I'm going to take some anti-seize, just a little bit, put it on the threads right there, and then we'll install them. Most likely, the last person that worked on these 100,000 miles ago put anti-seize on there, and that's why these came out nicely. Alright, so I got a little bit of anti-seize on the threads. I know NGK says they're made out of some special metal and you don't need to put anti-seize. I still put anti-seize on there. Do not drop these down into the spark plug tube. You will probably bend this electrode and then they're not going to work. Use something, either guide them down with your finger or use something like this that holds it in there. And if you notice, there's a crush gasket right here. That's what we're going to crush down. So we're just going to install these. And you can feel it's going to start to tighten up. Now it's on the crush ring and or the crush washer. All we have to do is do about half a turn, maybe just a little bit more, maybe up to 2/3, and then you'll feel that crush washer bottom out, and then that's it. So we're about perpendicular right here, so we're going to bring it over here, and then right there I can feel it tightening up right there, and I'm done. That's it. I don't need to go any further. Alright, we'll do the same thing with the next one, with all of them. And I'm being careful not to get anti-seize all over the spark plug. I'm only putting it on the threads. Alright, I felt it start to tighten up right there. Half a turn, just slightly more, and that's it. Torque to spec. And so basically, I thread it down by hand, and then as soon as I start feeling resistance, that means this crush washer is starting to touch the cylinder head, and then that's when we can start tightening it up. And if you want to use a torque wrench, it's like 13 foot-pounds if you really wanted to go that route. Alright, last spark plug. Just remember, you want to be very careful in putting them down in there. You don't want to damage that electrode or bend it. Alright, now we can get our coils in there. It's a good idea, match up your parts first. Make sure they're the same ones. And of course they are. because Denso is the one who made the original equipment ones, which I believe these are. I believe these are the original ones. These have 200,000 miles on it, which is why we're changing them out. And so by going with Denso, we're going with the same OE product that came with. Alright, now what I like to do on these coils, just put a little bit of dielectric grease right on the edge of the boot there so it doesn't stick to the spark plug, and then we can install it. If you want, you can just put it right on the edge, or you could take a Q-tip and just run it around on the inside there a little bit. You don't need to shove it way down in there. It'll get around the spark plug and keep it from seizing on there. Alright, now we'll get our coil back in place and we'll kind of plug it in, get it snapped in place, and then push it on. Alright, we'll do the same thing with the number 2, a little bit of dielectric grease on there. Get it plugged in, press it down into place. Same thing, number 3. Alright, now our number 4 coil, last one. Don't forget your dielectric grease. Alright, we'll get these nuts back on. Try not to drop these. Just get them snugged up. I believe the torque spec on this is like 8.3 foot-pounds or something like that. If you're so inclined to break out a torque wrench, just get them snugged up. And if you notice, I have my hand up high on the ratchet. I don't have it down here where I can put a lot of torque on it. I'm up here, so I'm not putting a lot of torque on that. Nice and snug, perfect. And if you noticed, I pushed these coils down before I tightened them up. I don't want to draw the coil down with the bolt. I want to get it down there in place and then just snug it up like I did. Alright, last thing, we'll get our fancy little cover on. Should just pop right in here. Then we can just tighten it up 1/4 turn so the screw heads are even like that. We're good. Alright, it's always a good idea. Take a second, look over your work. Make sure you didn't miss anything. Like this, don't be leaving anything under the hood. And there you go, that's how I install the ignition coils and spark plugs on these older Civics. And as you saw, I used minimal tools, got it done pretty fast. It's definitely a job that you can do at home as a DIY. So save yourself a lot of money and do this stuff yourself. And as always, if the video helped you out or you liked it, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching.